Hi, welcome to my financial markets recap for the week. It's John Bannon here from ComhlaTech. How are you all doing this early evening? Before we get to the news, a quick update on the system and what happened this week. Once again, sitting on our hands, nothing to do. No trades this week. At the beginning of January, and restated again last week, we were expecting the market to correct. And that's exactly what's happened. And, especially in the NQ, it really sure has. Total carnage in the markets this week. So glad to have sat that aside. The Nasdaq has corrected over 13%. I think it's like 13.5% since its all-time high. And the S&P is fast approaching correction territory. I think it's like 9.5% right now because of today's action. So really, really big declines in the stock market. And this is when, having the dry powder ready to strike for the big gains happen, right? I think starting next week, we are going to see a recovery, and I plan to be there to load up the truck, so to speak. So things are setting up well for us, and there is a trade coming soon. We have called this cycle to a really in a really nice way, basically, right? We're giving ourselves a high probability trade that's coming up, because if you're not in this massive correction, you're obviously going to have a better opportunity. No market continues down forever, although it is a little scary, obviously, when you see it dropping this hard. Big opportunities come out of carnage like this when you're not in it, so great stuff. So that's where we're at. That's the system update. What happened in the news this week? What's causing all this carnage? The Federal Reserve released a highly anticipated report on the question of whether it was going to do a US digital dollar. The central bank digital currency is not like a Bitcoin, whereas the entire point of cryptocurrencies is to step aside from central banks and get away from that. The US dollar will be just an electronic version of the Fed-backed dollar in your wallet, basically, right? So in the US wallet. So in this initial report, the Fed was saying they're being basically very non-committal, in terms of what they're going to do, and they're taking no position on the ultimate desirability of this digital dollar. So much has been reported, and this report was really highly anticipated in terms of taking on Bitcoin, what the US going to do, and they really have come out and said nothing. They're in a sort of wait and see mode. So Bitcoin crashed down this week again, down 10% I think this week, so quite a serious decline in Bitcoin as well. But I don't think it had anything to do with this report, because it was pretty lukewarm and non-committal. So that was news from the Fed. In earnings news, the Netflix dropped about 20% because it really disappointed on its subscriber growth numbers. Despite having massive hits like Squid Games, and it also reported it was up. It was raising the prices for the North American market in Canada and the US. I'm not really sure what it's doing for the rest of the world, but certainly it's raising prices here and in the US. Because North America's growth has stalled, it's basically there's so much competition now, and they've grown at an incredible pace thanks to the pandemic. Every man and his dog's got a Netflix account, so there's only so many people can continue buying it, right? So they're definitely declining there, so caused a big drop in their prices. Another one that's dropped this week is Peloton. Is temporarily halting production of its spin bikes and treadmills. Demand for this, the connected fitness equipment is really, faced a significant reduction, and they use those words, not me, since the mid-pandemic. So in other words, there are thousands and thousands of unsold bikes and treadmills sitting in storage and sitting in factories. So this news really tanked. I mean, this stock is really taking a kicking. It's gone below its IPO price now, and it's down like 70% since November. So really big fall there. They are doing it temporarily, though. They're just not going out of business. They're stopping any more production right now for at least a couple of months or 6 weeks or something like that in certain models. Quite a challenge for the company going ahead. Obviously, they're going to see that demand go back up. Another story is Amazon is opening a clothing store that features AI-driven recommendations. I think I mentioned something like this before in past talks. This will be touchscreen order dressing rooms. It's already America's #1 clothing store, possibly even Canada's too. And they're all promoting their own private labels. So, watch out High Street. your days may be numbered. In fact, they're not only coming, for the online market and the AI-driven, like this new technology of dressing in online, but they're opening a physical department store soon, and no industry is basically safe from the Zon, right? The big Amazon, they're taking on everything. In acquisition news, Microsoft's $70 billion acquisition of Activision, its bid for Activision, was the biggest cash deal in history. A $70 billion cash deal. That's how much money Microsoft has. Unbelievable. Sales across the gaming industry has boomed 27% during lockdown in 2020 and continued growing last year, and the expectations are obviously very high for the future. Activision was a big sought-after brand. It is like one of the most has some of the most successful gaming brands in history, Candy Crush, and I think anyway, I'm not an expert in gaming, but they've got some World of Warcraft and there's another army one they like, but anyway, Call of Duty, I think it is. So massive brands in there, and very successful company, and Microsoft's taken them over. And the news based on this, Sony, their stock price dropped like a stone because it's their major competitors, obviously in the gaming space with the PlayStation, and they dropped like 10% on this news. So not good news for Sony. Great news for Microsoft. Real feather in their cap. Lastly, an interesting fact, EV sales in Europe beat diesel car sales for the first time in December, but gas-powered obviously still number one for now, but certainly that's the first time in history that diesel cars have been beaten by EV. So because diesel actually quite popular in Europe in particular, not so much in North America, but they're popular in Europe. So it's actually quite a decent stat that they're doing that well. That's it for me. It's Friday. Time to Add Tools. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.